Okay, here we are. Your annealer's all done. Going to go over it a little bit for you. We're going to have the control panel here, case spin, and then there's a potentiometer for how fast the case spins. Case advance power, and the potentiometer changes the speed. I've already got it, went through and did some setup on it, and as you can see here, I put a little mark for case spin. That's kind of where I like to have the case spin. You can spin it up faster if you want or slower, it doesn't matter. I got it set up with 223 and that seems to work pretty well. Over here, I've got it pretty close to 223. I don't know if it's 100%, but it's very, very close. So I put another black mark here. That'll get you close. This thing's going to be running pretty quick. It looks like we're at about 3 seconds a case. And here's your counter. And you have to adjust the arms, different case sizes, whatnot. There's a nut here, wing nut here. You loosen the wing nut, adjust the bottom one to the height that you want, tighten it down. Got a thumb screw for locking the length on this arm. Thumb screw holds the torch in place. Same on the back side. I've got them set up for 223. So you should be good to go. You just need to double check. And right here is the screw for setting the case spin. And there's also another screw inside. We advance the wheel. Now this wheel moves stiff, and that's the way it's supposed to be because we want it to hold into position when it after it moves. We don't want it moving. Okay. As you can, now you have the axle. You got the hole lined up. Now you can loosen both screws. Now, right now, it'll do 308 very, very well. It's not 100%, but it does 223 100%, and it does the 308s 98%. They do just a little bit of walk. And if you look right here, wrong angle. Need to rotate around here. Okay. If you look right here, you can see just a little bit of gap. The end of the notch is right there. Okay. It's set up for 223. I don't want to change it anymore because it's perfect with 223. When you go to 308, if you move it out just past where this notch is, if you move it out to about right here, you'll see a shiny mark where the screw was, where I had it on 308. And you may not go that far because, like I say, right now we're at 98%. It's doing it. So you may be able to just barely move it out. You shouldn't have to loosen this inside one. I would start off first by just loosening this one and just pull it ahead just a little bit and just cover up that crack, and then it should be good for 308. Yeah, you do that. Make sure the wheel is where it's supposed to be, and where it's supposed to be so that this, when it comes around, doesn't hit on here. It needs to come into the groove and push the wheel. You can always tell by coming over here, and when it's starting to open that, you push it back just a touch so this door closes, and then it'll be in the right spot for when the arm comes around. Okay, you have a power supply is here, and the cord just plugs into it. It's just like a computer power supply. I'll probably have the cord unplugged and sitting up in here. I use these containers from Walmart. They're $1. I put water in mine when I'm actually doing the annealing, and it sits right there because there's your case dropout is right there. Okay, counter. You just rotate the wheel to reset it. It's attached by a spring. That comes to the arm right there. And as you can see, there's no fastener on this arm. It doesn't need to be held in place. It just sits down with gravity's gravity. It sits down there. There's enough weight. It doesn't really have to be held in place. If you need to take the arm off for whatever reason, It's just sitting down on there. So all you have to do is remove the return spring here and remove the spring right here, which connects to here, to your counter. Those two, and the arm will pick up off of there. Okay, so we've gone over the case spin. It's 100%, like I said, with 223. With 308, it's sitting in the 98% range. And like I say, I would just move this, loosen this screw here, and move it this direction for 308. And it doesn't have to be moved very much. We're talking 1/16 of an inch, maybe not even quite that much. Okay, and of course when you go to 308, you'll have to adjust your torch heads. I've got them sitting so it's hitting right on the neck shoulder joint on 223. When you get the annealer, this arm assembly, which is for the case feed, will not be on there. It's got a threaded stud on it. It just threads off. Okay, you'll have to put that on. Isn't a big deal. And when you're tightening it down, it comes about to the point where you need it does not get tightened a lot. As you can see here, it doesn't take much. I'm pushing it. It's getting snug. What you have to do is you tighten it up enough to line that up. Straight up and down. See, you want that lined up. That's all. That's where that's at. Okay. This here is your drop tube. This is the drop tube assembly. I copied my Hornady. That's how I started out. That's what I'm using. Okay. There's two setups here. Okay, right now I have 223 in here. Let me go over the points for 223. I'm going to pull this out. Okay. As you can see here, there's a white, this is a white adapter. Let's get this down where we can go. Okay, there's a white adapter piece, your clear plastic tube, and then we have another adapter piece, and then we have some 3/4 inch tube. Okay, 3/4 inch tube is what your Dillon is, and in order to get down, the cases do not fit very well in that 3/4 inch tube for 223. That you can get them to overlap, and they'll bind up in there. So I'm using a similar setup they use in my Hornady, and I've made a plastic adapter that goes on the top, and then this piece here is adjustable. It slides in and out. You can slide it in and you can slide it off. Okay, to adjust height. But going to the height setup, that's one thing you're going to have to do when you get this thing. Is I didn't have a case feeder to sit up on top here. I didn't have it. I couldn't get it. Couldn't find it. So, and couldn't get one bought in time. I got all the measurements from a guy, so everything should be just fine. You set your case feeder on here. Now this stuff here, this adapter piece, just slides right inside this piece, and it stops because it's flared out there. Okay. When you get it, you'll set your case feeder on it, rotate it over, and make a mark on how long you need this. And you'll want to take and this piece just pushes in and out. You'll want to trim this piece down in order to get this to fit where you want it. Okay? For the height of your case feeder. And then it just pushes on. It just pushes on just a little bit and you're good to go. Okay, the other part we have to do, the other adjustment there is the height. Okay, right now I had it on 308. And I was just setting it back. What you do for each different one, you want to adjust. So this piece here, and there's a little piece of the white bushing sticking out underneath there, right there. So that white bushing is about 1/8 of an inch ahead above the case. So loosen that nut, and then you turn the top one to let it down. I'm playing with it. Kind of hard one-handed. And we should have it right about there. Okay, and here is the other adjustment. This here hole is slotted, so you can slide this forward and back. And you want it so this edge here is just slightly ahead of this edge. And then you can lock it down. Okay, so now you can see the case, and like I say, it's about an 1/8 of an inch gap between the top of the case, and you can just see just so the rim's just below. You'll have to adjust that for each different case, the height size. Do not forget to adjust it, because like if you had the shorter case through the 223 in there and you go to 308, it'll be sticking up in the neck. You try to turn it on, it'll all bind up the linkage and you can possibly bend something. Okay. As you can see, there's a white plastic bushing in here. What you got to remember is, if you're doing 223, everything's white plastic bushings. You got the white plastic here. You got white plastic bushing in there. There's actually 2 bushings in there right now. There's the excuse me, the white plastic one in there, and the aluminum, the standard bushing in there. And how you take them out is, I open up the case feed. You stick your finger up in the hole and push them up. Take it out. Okay. There's a plastic bushing inside the metal one. I left it stick down there a little bit like that so you can push it out. You push it out, and then you have your 2 bushings. This one is for everything other than 223. And then when you do 223, you got to put the plastic bushing in there. Okay? And it just sets in there. Push it in until it touches. Open the arm. Drop it in. You're good to go. Covered all that. Now, the other thing is, when you're done with 223 and you want to do 308, you just pull this complete assembly out, and then you put the large tube in that we had. There again, when you put that on there and you go to the large tube and put the case feeder on, you're going to want to mark it and cut it where you need to be. Then you need to adjust it here, and that's first thing you want to do before you cut the height is get it adjusted for 308. And there's a little bit of play. If you look, that's how much play is in there. You have room for adjustment. I mean, can be for an adjustment. So if you cut a little shorter, and then I'll put an O-ring on this tube, and that way, wherever it needs to be, we can hold it up. It'll hold up with an O-ring, and that way you have some adjustment there. Because like it's counterbored in there, and it goes down in about 1.5 inches. So okay, we got that. The fittings. If you have any questions at any time, you could just give me a call or email me, and we'll see what we can do. It runs very, very well. When you change over from one caliber to the next is where you're going to have your tinkering. But once you've played with the machine a little bit, you'll figure out its little quirks. And what I always, before I run the torches, I'll put some brass in my feeder, and I'll start running it, and I'll run it, and I'll make sure it's working and dropping. Like I say, sometimes you have to move this piece forward and back because it doesn't want to drop a case. It's sitting on some needle bearings here. Everything, there's no lubrication points. It's just there's this little needle bearing down here. So this arm moves nice and smoothly. And other than that, that's just the basics. And it doesn't, like I say, it doesn't take a lot. Right now it's running very, very well. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to put the 223 stuff in it, and I'm going to show you how the 223 stuff runs. And I'm not going to start the torch up, of course, but I'm going to fill the tube, and we'll let it go. And I'll show the case spin in action and all that, just for killing time. This is the third video I made. I couldn't figure out get my editing software to work, so, and I had turned the phone sideways and the video was all shitty, so I'm turning around and I'm doing this again. Okay, filled up. I always turn on case spin first. Motor spinning. The wheel is where it belongs, and what it is if you get it out of time, you want to make sure where you're at. If you watch, see that door starting to open, push it back till the door closes, and if it's right about where the door, just after the door closes, you'll be fine right now. And it keeps it, as you can see, if you push it back too far, it'll lock it. It won't go backwards, but you just push it back so there's a little groove in there, just so the door closes, and it'll be okay for the advance. Got that going. I turn on the case advance. Now this, I've got it set up for 223, and if it was, this is how fast it's going to advance, because I actually annealed a few cases with it, and like I say, I got it pretty close. There we have it. Just past the line, it was just a touch slow. Thought I had it set there, but it'll be just past that mark there. Okay. Like I say, any questions, give me a holler, and we'll go from there. Thank you.